Announcement I'd like to make. We're going to be doing this breakfast right here September 18th at Blue Ridge. Okay, so we're going to do what we're doing here there. We're inviting a lot of other guys that you know, that aren't here, that go to Blue Ridge, and it's called The Gathering. Okay, so that's what, when you start seeing the announcements on Sunday morning about The Gathering, it's about us doing what we do here, opening up to all these other guys. September 18th. All right. So, this morning is going to be a talk, and it's going to be about change. And I'm excited. I woke up this morning really excited about today, and it's an amazing life to have God in your life and what to look forward to. I mean, if we're really serious about what we're doing here, it's always about change. It's about what that next thing God has for us, you know, and He always has something for us. We were created not only for His good pleasure, but for things that He planned in advance us to do. So as you think about that word change, I want you to listen to this.
So, do you remember that? Some of you are too young to even remember the Blues Brothers. I was 20 years old. It was in 1980. And that was one of my favorite movies of that year. I remember that. And I remember the most compelling thing that happened was when Jake walked into that church and he stood in the back. And there was the light shining through the stained glass windows. You remember that? And the light just overwhelmed him. And by the time the light was done, he was doing flips, forward flips, and back flips down the aisle. I don't do that. I'm sorry. And I'll never forget, because everything changed that day. Everything changed. Because now they were on a mission from God. And if you remember the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, you ought to go watch it after we talk about it this morning. But if you remember the movie, they were on a mission for God to go out and get the band back together. They had a purpose. They had a reason for what they were doing. The purpose and the reason was to do a concert, to save up money, to be able to save an orphanage for the nun. Yeah, there we go. and it was during that time, and for the rest of the movie, it's all about that one purpose. They went back to find the old band members. They were all in a place where they were working, they had jobs, they were back with their families. And as Jake and Elwood went toward them, they said, "We're putting the band back together." Well, you could see from their response they weren't really interested. It wasn't something that they were real excited about. But then came the thing that changed every one of their minds. When they said, we're on a mission from God. And because of that, every one of those guys left their jobs, left their families, to follow Jake and Elwood because of a higher calling, because it was a mission from God. And I couldn't help but think, as we move in to these next 3 weeks, as Steve already told you about the September the 18th, and as we take this to the church, over the next 3 weeks, we want to take you to a place where we change the focus. The focus is not about us. The focus is, God, how can you change me? So today, we're talking about change. Today, we're talking about those things that God wants to show us, who we are, and what He wants us to be, and who He wants us to be. It's those things that God wants to change in us today. He wants to change our perspectives. He wants to change the way we look at everything. He wants us to go back and realize that when we started this group, it was all about new believers and those people who didn't know Christ. And in the past year and a half, it's opened up to all the men at the church. But there's still some stigmas that go along with this because we started off just as new believers. Today we need to start raising that bar. Take it to another level. Because our mission from God was small in the very beginning. And I think God has opened up the doors and the opportunities for us to expand what the mission was really about all along. And that is to get into a place where every man has a meaningful relationship with several other men, to be able to speak truth into their life, to change the way that they look at life and the way they do life. So today, it's all about change. It's all about what God wants to do in us. And we're going to move into that today.
Well, not long ago I was driving around, and I realized how much God had changed me since I became a Christ follower. And none of y'all knew me before then. I was mean, I was arrogant, I was obnoxious, and I didn't care what I said, who I said it to. I never cared about anybody's feelings if they got hurt. It didn't matter to me. My opinion was my opinion, and it didn't matter what anybody else thought. I was always right. There was a span of about 5 or 6 years, and you can follow up and ask Krista this, where we would go out, it could be anywhere, and I would be mean, I'd be impatient, boisterous. This was without drinking. I was just that way naturally. And it could be with a waitress, a waiter, a hostess, a clerk, or even somebody sitting at a table next to us, at a line behind us, or in front of us. I was a jerk. Krista would continually, and this is every time we went out, Krista would continually ask me, please go outside and sit in the truck and wait. Because I was embarrassing her, and I was hurting the people around us. And she could see that. I didn't care.